as you can maybe guess, we're doing kind of a fall card today. Not kind of, but for real, a fall card. And the other thing is we're going to do a technique, and we're going to use a window sheet for this. There are other options if you don't have window sheets for this smackin' acetate technique. I love that name. I do use the acetate sheets, which are called window sheets in our catalog. I used to say overhead transparencies, but that's kind of not a thing anymore. So that probably isn't it unless you're a teacher with some in your stash somewhere. You can also use, you've seen me use my silicone mat. I don't have it sitting right here, but if you have the silicone mat, that works as well. I wanted something a little bit larger this time, so I have a piece here that's I think 6 by 12, and that works really well. It probably wouldn't have to be quite that long, but this works just fine. The other thing you need is some water-based markers. I'm just going to warn against using the Stampin' Blends because that will not work. The Stampin' Blends would color right here on this window sheet. So you don't want to use the Stampin' Blends, but you do want to use water-based markers like our Stampin' Write markers. And I decided to make it easy on you. I would use 5 colors that come from the same color family. So these are the Regals, and I'm using Pumpkin Pie, Cajun Craze, Crushed Curry, Cherry Cobbler, and Blackberry Bliss. So these are the colors I'm going to use, and I want heavy on the Crushed Curry and the Cajun Craze. And all you're going to do is scribble. So we're going to take our markers and we're going to scribble color on. It doesn't really matter how you start, but I'm gonna use a bunch of my Crushed Curry and Cajun Craze, and you can see on the screen that it's going onto my window sheet here. And I'm going from light to dark, and I'm not worried about blending colors because that works too. I'm gonna want a little bit more Cajun in here. And then we'll go to Cherry Cobbler. It's really random, so you don't have to think too hard about it. Please don't think too hard about it. You'll drive yourself nuts. Oh, a little more here, a little more there. No, don't worry about that. So basically what I'm doing is getting enough space for about a 1/4 sheet of Whisper White cardstock. Okay, if that makes sense. So we're going to take our spritzer. I had to think, what is this called? Teaching fries the brain, I've decided, especially when you don't do it every day. So I want to thank those of you who are coming, who have maybe never seen a What's Up Stampers live before, because you're usually at work, right? So I spritzed this, and now I'm just going to lay my Whisper White on there. And I know I told you, if you looked at my little ad yesterday that I posted, I said I'm going to get messy, and that's true. Get a little messy, and it just makes this really colorful, fun background. And all you need are markers and water for that. It's super easy. And this has to dry before I do the rest of my card, so I'm just going to set that aside because it needs to dry. But from the magic of television, I do have a dry one here. So, and let me tell you, this was interesting because I got home today from teaching at 3:40, and then my husband and my daughter needed a little attention. So really, I just got down here and got this one made at about 3:50 today. So fun. All right. So now I'm going to take my Cajun Craze and Crushed Curry, and I'm going to focus on the leaves from Beautiful Autumn. Let me tell you about Beautiful Autumn. It is a bundle, so it comes with 3 punches, and I'm just going to grab, I have the acorn one handy here, but this has also beautiful designer series paper that matches. And I needed to come up with a project. I wanted to use the stamp set, but the DSP is back ordered until November 30th, the end of November anyway. So I knew I should probably do a project without that DSP. It's hard, let me tell you, because I love that DSP. All right, so I'm going to take the crushed curry, and I'm actually going to take the maple leaf first, and I'm just going to just do a random kind of all over background. And I'm going to show you in just a second what my inspiration piece was for this. And I'm just turning my leaves different directions, and I'm just going to kind of fill in the background. And then I'm going to take my oak leaf and do the same thing with the Cajun Craze. All right, so Cajun Craze. So I'm just going to stamp this right over the top of my background, and you can see that background got really interesting when the colors started blending together. But I'm telling you, if you're not in Minnesota, our leaves have looked very much like this. I mean, in recent memory, I don't recall a year of it being quite this amazingly colorful. And every year it is beautiful, but this, I don't know, maybe those of you living in Minnesota can back me up on that. All right, so I just created a background. You know, there's so many different ways that you can use the smack and acetate background, but I just decided in this case I was going to stamp right over the top of it. All right, and then we're going to take just some Cajun Craze cardstock, cut 4 1/4 by 11 for those of you who are keeping track. And then our white was 4 by 5 1/4. So when I layer it on there, it's just going to be a little bit smaller. So I've got that little bit of a border. All right, then I'm going to take this piece of crushed curry, and I have cut that out using our stitched rectangles dies. I've been using these a ton. They are so versatile, and I just love the look of that stitching. So I'm just going to add that on here, and I'm going to put it way all the way to the edge, all the way to that Cajun Craze edge. All right, then we are going to take our label, and I want to show you that that label comes from our Tasteful Labels dies, and you can see all the beautiful dies. And if I bring it up closely, you can see that there is some stitching around some of them, and there's some beveling around some of them. I'm using a beveled one here, that one right there. And then I also wanted to share that when you cut this out, not only are you getting stitching on the piece that you cut out, but you're getting stitching on the negative image as well. So you can use this as a window for something else behind it, and you still got that nice stitching going around there. So I don't know, worth pointing out, I thought. So those are the Tasteful Labels dies. Okay, so back to the program. Beautiful Autumn stamp set, Life is Better with You is what I've chosen. And I'm going to stamp that in Cajun Craze. And I want you to notice, yes, I'm using all of these labels and fun things that just, you know, make a project. Ooh, you know what? That is not okay with me. Now my beveling is going to be different, but that's okay. I think you could totally use just rectangles with this. You know, if you come to Stamp Together Saturday, we don't do fancy cutting with die cuts and punches typically. So I just want you to know you don't have to. It's not one of those you got to have this or you got to buy that, but it sure does make it easier and jazzier. Okay, so this I'm going to first take my burlap, what is it called? Braided linen trim. And I'm going to put some adhesive just over the top of my crushed curry. And I'm just laying it over. And actually, you know what? I was going to cut it, but I really like the look of just sweeping it back and forth a couple of times. I like that. I think it looks cool and it's not really hard to do. You can do that with any sort of trim or ribbon. And then we're going to get this popped up on here. So you know what? I think I'm going to make that loop a little bit longer, and maybe even this loop a little bit longer. What you have to know, ladies and gentlemen, is that typically when I come here to stamp with you, I'm stamping off the raw. Okay, I've kind of thought the project through, and but I haven't made it. So this, sorry, this is the way it is when when I make it with you. All right, so we're going to take our dimensionals. And there are a couple of reasons for that. And I know you think, oh my gosh, how could she do that? Couple of reasons are, I like to get stuff made in my head before I put it down on paper. And so sometimes I just don't feel it necessary to take the time, because in my head it looks good. That's a little scary, isn't it? I know. I know. If you know me, you know I just operate on the fly. And maybe I'm telling too much. I feel like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm a little too telltale-y. But here, yeah, here's this. And then we're going to take just a scrap of Whisper White. And we're going to go back to our leaves. And I want my maple leaf. We're going to go back to Cajun Craze. Oops. There we go. So we're going to stamp our leaf in Cajun Craze. And then I'm going to clean it off because it's getting messy. It's getting messy. And then we're going to take what I love about the stamp set. It's a 2-step. So we are using the inside part of our leaf. If I can spot it here. There it is. It's colorful. That's why I missed it. It's well used. I've been using it for a lot of projects. On my blog, you will see I've used this a couple of times and featured it, or 3, 4 maybe times, featured it right on my blog. amyrich.net is my blog, where my blog is located. All right, so I've got my leaf. Isn't that pretty? I love how it, I used that Cajun Craze for the outline, and then my crushed curry then for the inside. And then we're just going to take that coordinating punch and punch out our little leaf. I love the sizes of these. I just think they're so fun. And then once again, I'm going to take a dimensional, and I should have grabbed a mini also, but we'll just cut it in half. And then that is going to go to fill in some space right here. So here you've got a really unique background. I want to show you the smack and acetate background that we made live and in person. I was letting it dry, and you can do all different colors. Here's the technique card we used when we did this project in our technique class, and we used all pinks for that one. You can stamp on it like we did today, or just use it as a background, or, you know, keep it really simple and, you know, the background, and then layer a couple labels over the top. But what I love about this is I love layering some labels together, and unique shapes that sometimes maybe you don't always think to put together. All right, so then I told you I was going to show you the inspiration kind of for that one. And I know you're probably going to go, that does not look at all like that. But that's where inspiration comes from. Sometimes you just need a starting place so that you can be creative. So I went right to the catalog, the August to December mini catalog, and I looked at this sample right here, and I used that as kind of a template. You can kind of see it maybe with the labels, kind of a template for my card today. So find inspiration wherever. Sometimes I'm sitting in church and I look at a woman's dress and go, ooh, that would make a really cool card. So sometimes I do it that way. And sometimes, I find inspiration, just copy, that's a thing. Oops. It's a thing to just copy too. That's okay to do.